Okay, we had some technical difficulties. It's now a few hours later, but we're going to upload the second part of Yud Zayin Amud, and the good news is that I just got a lot more storage on my phone, so this should not be an issue going forward. So here we go. So we were middle talking about what the davar acher was, and the Gemara continues, Val benosei mishum davar acher mishum davar acher. Something else because of something else. Kind of a funny way of speaking. What does it mean? My davar acher. What is this something else? That a young child, a non-Jew, a idolatrous child, is tameh like a zav. A zav is a pretty high level of tuma, and they treated the child of an idolater like someone who is a zav, someone who's tameh. Why would they do that? In order to prevent them from associating and connecting with a Jewish child, to prevent them from being together with one another, because there was a concern of two males being together, and that was something that was somewhat common in their society, and therefore there was that concern, and therefore to prevent it, they treated all non-Jewish children, or the children of idolaters, like they were a zav, like they were tameh. Ask the Gemara. The Gemara asks, according to the count, we have Rameir is up to 19. Okay, we didn't go through all the numbers, but we'll assume that this is the case. If you recall, Rameir was the one who had one extra decree, and so the Gemara is asking, according to Rameir, right, he was the one who talked about leaving the utensils under the vessels. That was a decree according to him that Beis Shammai made. So according to him, we're up to 19. So he considers food and utensils that become tameh by a liquid as one thing. In other words, the Gemara lists them initially as two separate things: that food that becomes tameh by a liquid and utensils that becomes tameh by a liquid. But now we're saying they're one and the same. They're really all part of the same decree, and therefore everyone is up to 18. And we are finished with our discussion of Tuma and Tara for the next little while. We're up to the next Mishnah again on Yud Zayin Amud Beis. Beis Shammai Omer Mein Sharon Diobas Beis Shammai prohibits soaking dye and spices and beans, all different things that need to be soaked, unless they're really soaked through by the time Shabbos starts. So Beis Hillel says no, once you put it in, you're okay. The basic debate over here is, we'll see, there's going to be two ways of understanding this, but the basic debate is, are your kalim, are your utensils allowed to do melacha? Are they allowed to do prohibited work for you on Shabbos or not? So Beis Hillel says not a problem. Beis Shammai says no, even though you are not touching this utensil, you put it in before Shabbos and the dye is doing its thing, but nonetheless, you can't put it in before Shabbos, because on Shabbos the utensil, so to speak, is going to be doing the work for you. Similarly, you can't put bundles of flax into the oven unless it gets completely consumed by fire while it's still day, and not the wool into a vat until the color really gets absorbed. Again, all these different things where there is malacha, where there is prohibited activity which is taking place on Shabbos by your utensils. And Beis Shammai says, no way. Beis Hillel says that's not a problem. There is a prohibition against hunting on Shabbos. Beis Shammai says because of that, you can't set up traps on before Shabbos. Beis Hillel says no, the trap's doing the work, you're not doing it. So Beis Hillel says not a problem. Beis Shammai Omrim, you're not allowed to sell to a non-Jew. You're not allowed to load onto him. Nor allowed to help him lift something. Unless he has enough time to get to a close place. In other words, what they're talking about over here is a sale just took place, and this is different than the first three examples, than the first three cases. Over here, it looks like you are instructing a non-Jew to do malacha for you on Shabbos, and what actually happened is you sold something to him, and therefore you're giving him something, you're placing something on his back, but nonetheless, Beis Shammai is concerned about the way it looks, and therefore he prohibits this. So Beis Hillel says it's fine. You're not allowed to give hides to be worked, and not clothing to be washed, unless they could be done to a non-Jewish person, unless they could be done before Shabbos begins. Okay, so he says if you go drop off your clothes to the cleaners right before Shabbos starts, Beis Shammai says that's forbidden, and Beis Hillel matirin. Okay, and Beis Hillel v'kulan. Sorry, let's read on. V'kulan Beis Hillel matirin im hashemesh. Beis Hillel says it's not a problem as long as it's done before dark. So as long as I drop off my clothes to the cleaner before dark, they're still open, not a problem. Amr Rav Shimon Gamliel is going to tell something of a stringency that his family adopted. Noagin hayu beis Abba she'nosin klei lavan lechobes nachri shlosh yom kom l'Shabbos. They used to give their white clothing. White clothing is much harder to clean than dark clothing. They would give their white clothing to the cleaners 3 days before Shabbos. Why? Because they wanted to make sure they would completely clean it in line with Beis Shammai. It's a stringency, but that's what they would do. They both agree that you're allowed to go ahead and place the beams on the wine of the press of the olive press and the figs, the wine, excuse me, on the planks of the wine press. Basically, what's happening over here is as follows: there's an issue of schita, of squeezing out liquid from an olive or from a grape. That is a biblical prohibition. However, once something's been squeezed, to squeeze it further, that is only rabbinically prohibited. So Beis Shammai is agreeing in this case. Even though your utensil is doing malacha, it's only doing rabbinic malacha. Once I put the plank down, then anything that happens after that is only rabbinically prohibited. Because if I would go to squeeze, because the plank, the first time it squeezes once, and then the subsequent squeezing is only going to be prohibited rabbinically. And therefore, what he's teaching us is that in a scenario where the prohibition is going to be rabbinic, your utensil is doing something rabbinic, there Beis Shammai says that's permitted. And so they would both agree in that case. We're going to unpack each of these cases in the Gemara. God willing, tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.